Hi everybody, I'm Greg Greenberg. I'm the founder of Actual Food. We're also trying to encourage people to use cars less. We think that healthy food should be convenient and accessible and affordable everywhere, with or without a car. And we've launched a technology company to help make that possible right here in New Haven. It's called Actual Food, and I'd like to tell you what's been driving us to work over the last 3 years to help make that a reality. We think that when our basic needs are met, we become fully contributing members in the human network from which collective intelligence can emerge. When we have our basic needs met, we get together in groups like these and we talk with each other and we plan for the future. And how to do that, how to meet the needs of every person has been the perpetual challenge of every noble civilization. I don't know if Hoover actually said this in his presidential campaign or if it was dropped in by one of his staffers, but in many ways it's presaged the oil-addicted approach to food that we've had over the last 80 years. Oil to make the fertilizer to feed the chicken, to grow the feed that feeds the chicken, and oil to power the car that gets you to the grocery store, and oil to power everything that's in between. And over the last 80 years, we've learned that this is really an imperfect and temporary solution. We don't have an infinite amount of oil, and it turns out that meat probably isn't all that great for you, whether you cook it in a pot or otherwise. So, indeed, it doesn't take that much nuance to see that food affects everything that's important to us on a daily level. Everything from our health to the environment, our personal enjoyment, food's ability to bring us together, humanity with which we treat other creatures, and even our very freedom of choice, all tremendously impacted by food. And health is a perfect example. A 2009 study of over 20,000 participants showed that just eating an above-average diet, just that, reduces the risk of any of these diseases by 60%. As David Katz at Yale School of Public Health puts it, no medicine comes close to that. Caldwell Esselstyn at the Cleveland Clinic went even further. He showed that you can actually reverse end-stage coronary artery disease with diet and statins alone. So this is not food as preventative medicine, this is food as a life-saving treatment for disease that otherwise would be incurable. The environment is obviously affected by food also. 21% of our carbon emissions in this country come from food, and I think that as consumers, that's the piece that we can influence the most directly. What I think is really interesting is that when you break out the transportation piece, I mean, local food is so important for so many reasons. But when we focus on that, we forget that driving to the grocery store also contributes very significantly to our carbon footprint. Just that alone is 3% of our carbon footprint and 20% of the oil that we import from OPEC nations. So getting off of the automobile-driven lifestyle is really important. And the great news is that there's great alignment between the foods that prevent disease and the environment and humaneness. It seems that the best foods are whole food, plant-based foods. And so with the alignment between those things, one might ask, why are we doing so badly on all of them? And I would look at the supermarkets. I think it's easy to see that, supermarket, the food desert problem is is definitely not something that I need to introduce to this community after we spend a year without a grocery store downtown. But lest we forget, much of New Haven still is a food desert, with 22 census tracts and 43,000 people still living who are low income, living with low access to food. And right after Shaw's closed, there was a survey of 2,300 people, and it was really interesting that the reasons that people shopped at Shaw's it was multifaceted. Mostly it was proximity, because a lot of people walk to grocery stores in urban neighborhoods, but it also had a lot to do with price and selection. So when supermarkets have this kind of control over what we buy, one wonders why is it possible for supermarkets to sort of get together and serve everybody, even in low-income inner-city neighborhoods. Sadly, the answer to that question seems to be no. The slide that's going to come up here in a minute is a breakout of the cost of goods sold and where the sale dollars go from grocery retail sales. Grocers have certainly healthy margins on the food that they sell, but almost all of it gets eaten up by overhead costs, and they're left with very low net profit margins. So it's very easy to flip from profit to loss as a grocery store. And I think that alone explains to me why they rely so heavily on subsidies from processed food manufacturers to promote these kinds of unhealthy foods in their stores, as well as why we have a food desert problem, because it's just so easy to go from profit to loss. And what I think is really interesting about those subsidies from processed food manufacturers, all those advertising programs in the stores, the subtle ones and the obvious ones, everything from in-store flyers and pricing promotions to product placement on the shelf. A customer might go into a grocery store assuming that the customer's purchases affect what the store is choosing to stock and what but in reality it's quite the reverse. The store wields a lot of influence on what we as consumers buy. So that's the challenge then. How do we design a new kind of food system that makes healthy, sustainable eating conveniently accessible and affordable in every community without relying on those product subsidies for promoting unhealthy foods, and without relying on customers to own a car, and without asking customers to give up the selection and taste that they've gotten used to in the grocery store? Well, usually the easiest way to participate in a paradigm shift is to wait for a crisis, right? Otherwise, there's always some perfectly justifiable reason to to get another car, to stay on the diet that you've been pretty much eating your whole life. But what we want to do is create a system that is actually better on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment level than the status quo. The kind of thing that you actually want to switch to, crisis or no. So what we've done is we've created this technology company called Actual Food, and we're going to be launching a delivery service for the rest of us. It's a no-fee, same-day delivery service, and we want to make it accessible and affordable to everybody. The good news is that even in New Haven's worst food deserts, broadband penetration is really great. 60% of households that are in food deserts in New Haven have some kind of connectivity. And this doesn't even include Wi-Fi sharing or mobile devices or dial-up. So I think that this is definitely a clear way forward. But I don't want to suggest that what we're doing is limited only to food deserts. What we want to do is, we're not really interested in creating the proverbial minimum viable product. We're interested in creating the thing that everybody would want to use, living in a food desert, not living in a food desert, car ownership, or no, which is why we need your help. So we're asking you to sign up for our beta. We'll be launching this summer, and we'd love to hear what you think. And also, if you have any thoughts about what we're doing, or if you're curious about how our technologies work, I would love to hear from you. This is my contact information, and thanks very much.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.